the whole point of this is this idea that, uh, and the what really drove the creation of this class in particular was I kept answering the same question for a lot of different people, and I watched myself going through it. I watched myself going, where is my energy? Like, where is my like I have no like push to do the things I love. I have no like there's just no drive behind me, and so I started looking into what was going on with me and found that I was teaching the same thing uh, over and over again. So that's what created this. So let me share my screen. And so for those of you who don't who are not uh, my regular people, I'm Dave Gieselman. I am a mindset and leadership coach. I work with professionals, I work with entrepreneurs, I work with creatives who want to show up more powerfully in their own lives, who want to thrive in every aspect of their own lives. And so I work with a lot of cool people. I get the pleasure of working with a ton of creatives who and a ton of entrepreneurs who have found themselves at sort of these inflection points, these places where they're not sure where else to go. They're killing it in their career, they're killing it in their personal life, and they're not real sure why they are not having success in other places. And so I do coaching with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives. Uh, I'm giving away all the good stuff. So first off, I want to put out an ethical disclaimer. At the end of this masterclass, I will be talking about ways you can work with me, either directly or indirectly. But I don't believe that everybody needs a coach, and I just want to make sure that at the end of this, there will be a talk about ways that you can work with me directly or indirectly. And so if that's something that you're interested in, that's great. If it's not, that's great. But I want to let you know that at the end, there's going to be a talk about that. My intention for today is to provide you with insight, perspective, and tools. That is what I want. This is not just a big infomercial for my coaching. What I really want is to give you insight and perspective and some tools that you can implement right now. The minute you walk away from this class, and I want to give you an idea of what your next steps could be if what I do is interesting to you and you think this is useful. So this is where we're beginning, right? So this is where we're starting our journey. And when I posted on Facebook this idea that if you feel exhausted, if you feel just drained, and you can't seem to uh, manage at any sort of like consistent energy level. You're either overeating or you're not eating. You feel depressed, and you're just not there. I want you to know that you're not alone. And what I want to do today is I want to explain a couple of the reasons why you feel the way you feel, and I want to explain some things that can help you pull out of it. I want to be really clear. There are no magic bullets here. There is work, there is understanding, and there is insight. For those of you who are here, take notes if you like. Do anything you want, but don't feel like you need to. Everybody at the end of this, I will send everybody a copy of the replay plus a copy of the slide deck. Some of the slides get a little bit heady, so if you don't feel like you need to really write it all down, you will get a copy of everything. So we're going to begin with, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Basically, on the bottom you have what you need to survive, right? And as you climb the ladder, and most of us are familiar with this, we become more and more self-fulfilled. We become more and more self-realized. That who I am and what I am is here. The challenge is that we can't go to each new level until we've satisfied the one below it. You cannot get half of what you need and move to the next level. So most of us, if we're living in North America, have our physiological needs met for sure. Unless there's any homeless people catching the replay, but most of us have food, water, warmth. Most of us have shelter. Those needs are met for a lot of us for a long time. Then the safety and security gets met, and then we get to, once we have safety and security, then we can. Hey, Molly, good to see you. Once we have safety and security, then we can really begin to develop powerful relationships, love, family, friends, intimate partners, and from there we continue to go to get our esteem needs met. We're making art, and we're doing the real creative stuff. So this is kind of the basic way we need to do things. Most of us to whom this course, this masterclass was attractive, are kind of stuck in this safety piece. We're kind of stuck, right? And the reason we're stuck in this safety, we're gonna get into it in just a little bit, but that's the problem, is we're stuck. We don't feel safe, and because we don't feel safe, we're having a hard time moving beyond that. If you are just coming in, I would love to know where you are coming in from. Type where you're coming from into the chat. I would love to know where everybody's joining us from. So most of us are familiar with this idea of fight or flight, right? Something scary happens, something creates a problem, and we go into this idea of fight or flight. And we're familiar with this. This is our sympathetic nervous system. Our sympathetic nervous system kicks on. We go into fight or flight. And in the modern world, it looks like an anger outburst, trying to be controlling and trying to be a bully. Flight looks like buffalo. Hey, what up, buffalo? So flight looks like sort of disengaging, right? Where we're workaholic, we're being perfectionists, we're doing all this stuff. When we get into really high, life threat level, that's where we freeze, right? That's where we freeze. And every mammal, and even more than that, most advanced animals have an off switch, have a catatonic button. If you grab a kitten or a small mammal behind the back of the neck, they kind of freeze up. If you turn a shark over, it goes to sleep. If you put a chicken's head under its wing, it goes to sleep. This is a freeze mechanism. This is it's an off switch, and it was designed by nature so that you don't feel what's about to happen to you, because if you are in this freeze place, that means that you are either in the jaws of a predator or about to be. So that's why that's there. That's what that looks like. And so almost all animals have this freeze response where you go into shutdown, right? And you stop running and you stop fighting and you stop doing it because you're caught, right? And you go into this freeze response. In recent years, uh, we have we have noticed that humans have developed a fawn response. And this is in response to years and years and years of trauma. This is in response to childhood trauma. This is in response to childhood abuse. And what we have is a fawn response. And what that means is we feel danger and we go into people pleasing, right? We go into right away into how do I make whoever is in this room, however I feel unsafe, how do I make this person pleased with me so that I feel safe? We usually learn this in emotionally unstable households. We learn it in violent households. We learn it in traumatic households. Regardless of the type of trauma. But when we are young, we will learn this fawn response. Right? As long as I can keep everybody happy, my body is safe. Right? And so we learn this as a stress response. This is actually a better model of the nervous system. And so down here at the bottom, you have your ventral vagal, response, right? And this is where like you're in flow, right? You make connections, you have curiosity, you can be compassionate with other people, there's empathy, you are in flow. And you're mellow, like everything is a good place. This is your parasympathetic nervous system. This is rest and digest. This is your relaxation response. This is the way we should be most of the time. This is the way most mammals are most of the time. And I'll tell you and I'll show you where we break from this pattern. So once we get into the sympathetic nervous system, something happens, something freaked us out. We get angry, we get fearful, we start worrying. All of a sudden, that arousal goes up, that our bodies become intense. And as we either continue up or we stay there, we go into what is called a dorsal vagal response, and we shut down. Right? We stay in this hypersympathetic response, right? And we get dissociation, we get numbness, we get depression, raised pain thresholds, right? All of a sudden, we're sluggish, we're exhausted. This is a huge, huge bandwidth drain. And this is tough to break out of. This is really, really tough to break out of, particularly when we are locked in it. And it's easy to see why we are locked in it. Depending on where you begin the timer, what you look at, we as a world have been locked in a mass sympathetic event for anywhere between 7 to 20 years, basically depending on kind of where you start the clock. If some people start the clock where when Donald Trump threw his name into the hat to run for president, others all the way back at 9/11, where there's this constant state of heightened awareness. There's this constant state of intensity going on. There's this low-lying, low-grade fear. And just as a quick disclaimer, this is not about to be a political conversation, a social conversation. What I will say is that regardless of where you stand on any of the issues, whether you are the Trumpiest Trumpublican that ever Trumped, or the crunchiest granola eating tree hugger that ever hugged a tree, everybody's having the same experience. We are literally watching what we believe as the other side, whoever the other side is to you, we believe we are watching our way of life being dismantled in front of us. If you're a super science vax believer, you're watching all of the no masker, anti-vaxxer people do what you believe is damage to your society. If you are an anti-vaxxer, if you're a no mask person, if you're a COVID is a hoax person, you're watching everybody who's talking about this try to gain some kind of control. They are dismantling your way of living. When we saw the Capitol riots, the California wildfires, like all of it, we from environmental to geopolitical, we're full of wars, we're full of and socially we're looking at Black Lives Matter and Antifa. We're watching our young black men and women being killed at a different rate. And whether you believe that or not, you believe that the response to that is dismantling what you believe. Either you're a defund the police person or a don't defund the police person. And every time we hear one thing or the other, we go into this sympathetic response. So many of us have been trapped in a sympathetic response anywhere from about 7 to 20 years. There are some people who still can't go into tall buildings because of what they saw on 9/11, and it still freaks them out. So they look at skyscrapers and go into that sympathetic response. Is this making sense to everybody? Give me a wave or a thumbs up, or let me know in the chat if this is relevant to you, if this all sounds familiar, if this is making sense. Cool. So some of us don't need Fox News or CNN or world events to be in a hyper state of arousal all the time. Some of us only need our childhood. Some of us came from violent, unstable, traumatic childhoods full of domestic abuse, full of sexual abuse, full of violence, all kinds of stuff. And so many of us began it even earlier, right? And so we have these thoughts, these memories. Traumatic events happened when we were young. We experienced either firsthand or secondhand the joys of addiction and the damage that these things take. The damage that addiction and abuse will take on our family. And so some of us come kind of preloaded, right, with all kinds of really easy triggers to keep us stuck in that sympathetic state. Here's the problem. Humans have a subconscious, and this is where it gets tricky, because the subconscious makes no distinction between the real and the unreal. It draws no distinction between the past, the present, or the future. It doesn't require anything to make sense. It doesn't require anything to be logical. Things can be insane and it will respond just the same. And the brain doesn't deal in negatives. What I mean by this is, don't think of a blue elephant, right? You can't not think of a blue elephant. You can't not experience things. And so when we think of something, when we go into those fears, when we watch that scary stuff on TV, when we hear about it, when we scroll through it on our social media, when we sit in our living rooms and we think about the things that we're worried about, the things that we're scared about, when we think about the things in the past that we're ruminating about, mistakes we think we might have made, times when we took a left when we should have taken a right, all of these things create a sense of fear. And when we do that, our little amygdala ticks right off. Okay? Now your amygdala is right in the middle of your brain. And I'm sorry to get a little heady with you guys. So we have the amygdala. This is your lizard brain, right? This is the thing, whenever you go into a fear-based response, this is the thing that is now driving the bus. The reason for that is that if you have a wolf chasing you down, the last thing you need is to be hungry or horny or anything else, right? So your appetite shuts down, sexual response shuts down, digestion shuts down, all kinds of pieces shut down, including your neocortex, right? The newest, most human part of your brain, responsible for advanced thinking, responsible for language, emotion, all of these things. Your limbic system is severely stunted. This is your emotions, your feelings, your habit control. This is all of these things, your memories. And so, what happens when you are stuck in your lizard brain, in your amygdala, you are stuck in sympathetic, fear based response? The one thing your limbic system will do is remember it, right? Because your limbic system is responsible for your memory and it just remembers your fear. It just remembers. And so every single thing that is connected to your fear, or you then connect to your fear, it drops you into the same state, which means you are moving through your life with your little lizard reptilian brain, with your little lizard brain making 20,000-year-old decisions in a world that it has no business driving a bus in. Does this make sense? Right? Is this landing? Cool. This is why we cannot positive affirmation ourselves out of the problem. This is why looking in a mirror when we are in this sympathetic state, when we're in this hyper activated state, this is why all of the thinking about it, all of the just think happier thoughts, just think what solved the problem, is why it doesn't work. You are never going to think your way out of a sympathetic state. The reason for that is the part of your brain that is responsible for your best thinking, for your most powerful thinking, your most integrated thinking, is not online. It is not online. It is not available to you. Your neocortex is not available to you. Your ability to run is available to you. Your ability to hide, your ability to go into a hold, your ability to go into a depression is available to you. Your ability to freeze is available to you. But your ability to think your way out of a complex situation that, by the way, your brain just caused is not available to you. So sitting in it and trying to think your way out of it, trying to intellectualize why you're in this place or why you're thinking these thoughts or why you're depressed or why you feel sluggish or why there's like no motivation to do anything, you are not going to intellectualize it, arrive at an answer, and then be able to move out of it. Here is why. The body sends 60 times more information to the brain than the brain sends to the body. The body sends 60 times more information to the brain than the brain sends to the body. The body has to tell the mind that it is safe. It will never go in the other direction. The body must tell the mind that it is safe. You cannot think you are safe and have your body respond to that. The body must tell the mind that it is safe before you can shift back into a parasympathetic state where you are not in fight or flight, where you are not in freeze, where you are not in fawn, and you are not in a stress response, fear response state. Is this making sense to everybody? If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Please, it's a small group. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, or just put it in the chat. There's plenty of time. We can get into this. It is vitally important that you understand that the body must tell the mind that it is safe. it is never going to go in the other direction. So how do we do that? Okay, so we're locked in a sympathetic state. How do we do that? And so it's funny when I speak publicly, I'll be talking to a room full of people, and I'll have everybody stand up and face a partner, right? And everybody faces a partner, and I go, okay, choose who's partner A and choose who's partner B. And partner A, I want you to take a great big deep breath. And partner B, I want you to watch them. And so partner A will take a great big deep breath. All right, and then let it out. All right, now switch. Partner B, take a great big deep breath. And partner A, you watch them. And then partner B takes a great big deep breath. And partner A is watching and they let it out. And then we go, okay, so whose partner just got taller when they did that breath? And everybody who was now absolutely certain that they just did it right raises their hand. Congratulations, you are all locked in fight or flight. You are all locked in your sympathetic nervous system, because when you breathe into your chest and you grow 2 inches, you are locked in your fight or flight. If you are in your parasympathetic nervous system, you breathe into your belly like a tiger. You breathe into your abdominals. When we are in our sympathetic nervous system, our breaths are shallow and they come from the chest. If you take a moment right now and consider the way you're breathing, how fast are those breaths? How fast are they coming? Are they deep? Are they slow? Are they steady? It is the research says that about 6 breaths per minute is the optimal. It's like 6.5 is what it is. 6.5 breaths per minute is the optimal breath structure, is the optimal breathing pattern for someone who is at rest. 6.5 breaths a minute. And so if we are stuck in fight or flight and we can't think our way out of it, and this is for people who really struggle with this, right? This is for people, who, all of you who, I talked about the depression. I talked about feeling like you're stuck in a rut, unable to kind of pull yourself out of this, right? Your body is stuck in a sympathetic state. And so what we can do, there's many practices. I'm going to teach you this one. This is called a self-havening practice, meaning you are your own safe haven for yourself. And so you rub your palms back and forth. You can do it like this. You can rub your palms back and forth. You can rub your forearms, right? You can rub your, and it's a light touch. It's smooth moving. Rub your palms together. Rub the back of your hands. Rub your forearms. Rub your biceps up to your shoulder. This is called a self-havening practice. Rub your arms. Rub your hands. Rub your face. Around the brow, you can run your fingers through your hair. This is a self-havening practice. Okay? What you are doing is your body is scanning itself, and you are looking, and at a deeply instinctual level, you're looking for injury. And as you're touching yourself, keep your movements slow and light. Rub your hands over your face. And what you will find is that you are slowly calming down. And so now I want to invite all of you to do this practice with me, and we'll take the next step in it. So before we get started, I would like everyone to kind of close their eyes and just take a moment. And I want you to kind of scan, like do that good interoception. Like, where are you? Like, close your eyes, right? And observe first your thoughts. right? First, your thoughts. How are they? Right? Are they busy? Are they calm? Are they all over the place? Are you worried about something that's going to happen later? Are you ruminating about something that happened earlier? Like, where are you? What is the quality of your thoughts right now? And if you just want to type in like 1 to 10, one is my thoughts are chaotic and all over the place. Like I can't. I'm having a hard time focusing because they just won't. And 10 is like monk like Zen. Like I'm calm, I'm chill. Like I'm not. Like I can still my mind. So take a quick scan of your mind and drop it into the chat. Good. 6.5. All right. All right. 6, 3. Okay. So you got a busy mind there. They're just cool. You got a busy active Brooke. 4. Perfect. Okay. Uh, as soon as you're done, as soon as everybody's done, put that in. Drop your awareness down into your emotional awareness. What does your emotional backdrop look like? Can you observe your feelings? Can you observe your emotional state? At any given moment, most of us are functioning on about three different emotional levels. There's that surface one, right? There's that surface state. It's easy to tell your barista about. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm doing whatever. Then we have that undercurrent. That emotional state seems like it's been with you most of the day. And then we have the real deep one. That sort of kind of constant state that we feel like we're in. Uh, and so, if you can observe all three levels, where are you emotionally? Give yourself a score, 1 to 10. One is I am a mess emotionally. I am an absolute mess emotionally. I can't stay put. I'm fearful. I'm torn. I'm all over the place. And 10 is I'm a joyful character. Like I'm completely good. I'm not worried about anything. I'm in a great space emotionally. Uh, go to 11, right? All right, 4, cool. 4, where are you emotionally? Where are you in terms of managing your emotions? 3, cool. All right. So now pay attention and now remember what you said. And now here's what I want everybody to do. I want you to begin rubbing your palms together. It can be like this, the back of your hands, light, smooth strokes over your forearms, up your bicep. The order doesn't matter. The direction you go doesn't matter. Keep it steady, keep it smooth. Your face, maybe through your hair. Good. Now you're going to continue to do that. And we're going to do some breath work. Okay, some real simple. This is called a clarity breath, and it's an inhale for a count of 4, a hold for a count of 4, an exhale for a count of 6, and a hold for a count of 2. You don't have to remember any of that. Just keep the self-havening going, and I'll count it off. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2. Last one. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2. Keep your eyes closed. Take a moment and do a self-scan again. Look at your mind. Is it calmer or is it busier? Is it easier or is it more wound up? Observe your thoughts. Drop down into your heart center and observe your emotions. Where are you? Where are those emotions? Are they calm? Are they turbulent? Are they mellow? Give yourself that same 1 to 10 score for your thoughts and your emotions. 1 is crazy chaotic, 10 is monk-like Zen. And after having done that exercise, where are you now? You can put 7, 6, cool. Mind, emotion, wow, much calmer, right? Right. You cannot do that and not end up calmer. You will activate the parasympathetic nervous system, okay? If you want to control your brain state, you control your heart rate. If you want to control your heart rate, you control your respiration. It's just the way the machine works. Put the keys in, turn them on, put the gas pedal down, car moves forward. It's just the way the machine works. If you do this practice and you do the breathing, you will shift your nervous state. You will. You can't not. It would be biologically unsound for it not to work. So here's where we go from there. Okay, you can also do a 4-4-4-4. I like the 4-4-6-2. Tumo breathing in through the nose for 4. Exhale for a count of 10 is also very effective. These are all breath work, like quick, like 10 seconds. I mean, we did 4 rounds of that clarity breath, and you're already here. You're already in a calmer place. I'll send you these, whatever works for you. I learned these on the line in super high stress cooking environments here in Los Angeles. I was a chef for a very long time here in LA. I worked in very, very high stressful environments, and I had to learn how to manage my nervous system and how to do it quickly. And no, I don't have 3 minutes to settle myself down, go out and have a cigarette, do whatever. I do have 10 seconds. I do have 10 seconds. I do have just a few seconds to close my eyes and take a couple breaths. So now, once we're there, it's time to deal with what's creating the problem. Because, like I said, we think of the scary thing and we go into the sympathetic response. And because we are always thinking of the scary thing, we find ourselves locked in the sympathetic response, find ourselves locked in fight or flight. Our minds, the way humans think, is we think in images and emotions. It's just the language that our brain speaks to itself in. Okay. So we need to unpack that. We need to, which is why you can sit there and think, and your mind is this swirling like sea of concern and worry and worst case scenarios and all kinds of other stuff. And you can sit there and it makes sense. It must come out of your head. It must, in order to be done with it, it must come out of your head. And so what we do is we write it down. Okay, this is the discipline here. The breath is easy. The self-havening feels good. This is the discipline. The writing it down, because most people, including myself, more often than not, I want to think about what I'm thinking about, intellectualize what I think I'm thinking about, and go, oh, I know what I know what I'm thinking about, and I know why it's causing the emotional response that I'm having, and then I want to stop and I want to set it all down, and I want to pretend like I just solved my problem. Here is what I want you to do, and here are 4 things that you can write about when we do this. First, you can do a complete brain dump. Like, just start writing and don't stop until you're out of ink, out of pencil, or out of words. Right? It doesn't matter if you can't think of what to write. Write I don't know what to write over and over and over again. Your brain will give you something to write. It's just like turning on the hose in the spring after the winter. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that's going to come out of that ain't water at first. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that's going to come out of that hose. There's going to be bugs, and there's going to be dirt, and there's going to be rocks, and there's going to be spiders, and there's going to be all kinds of stuff coming out of that hose the first time you turn it on during the spring. But if you let it run, then you'll get some like muddy water and other stuff and debris that's built up. And if you let it run, it will run clean. It will run clear. And so the trick is to start writing. And you can do a complete brain dump and just write. And it doesn't matter. The other one, this is super effective, and it's one of the things that I teach everybody that I work with to do is, what is the fear? What am I afraid of? Right? And it doesn't matter what it is. When we write, what we are doing is we are forcing our brains to synthesize the thing that we're doing, because you cannot write down a logical fallacy. You cannot write down something insane and then pretend like you didn't just see how insane that was. Like, you can't do it, right? You will, if you ask, what is the fear? I'm afraid that I've completely blown my window, and that my career is over, and I'll never be a happy person ever again, and nothing was ever going to work for me again. If you write that down, you can look at it and go, oh, that's nonsense. That's like actual nonsense. Like, if somebody told me that was their fear, I'd go, okay, but that's nonsense, right? So, or we can say, I'm afraid of the world collapsing. I'm afraid of nuclear war happening tomorrow. Okay. Okay. So why am I afraid of that? Ask the follow-up questions. So why do I fear that? What am I fearful of? Why do I fear that? And you may come up with another answer. Why do I fear that? Why am I afraid of that? If that actually happened, what would that mean? If that actually happened, if I'm afraid my wife is going to leave me, okay, what happens if my wife leaves me? Right? If my wife leaves me, what does that mean? That means I'll be all alone. I'll be unlovable. I'll be any of that. And as I write these things down, I can look at them objectively, because now I have languaged them. I have completely synthesized this thought that's in my head, and I've written it down. And whether it is true or not true, whether it is complete nonsense, regardless of what it is, my brain will now set it down. It's out. It is no longer running around in there. It's out. Describe what you're feeling. Ask, what is the story I'm telling myself? These are 4 amazing places to start. And there's tons, right? There's daily journals. I have a list. If you want it, I have a list of like 416 journal prompts that like you can just like point at and just start writing, because the truth will come out. The moment you begin just writing, it's going to come. So now we've done this writing, right? So now I've done this complete brain dump. I've asked myself, what's the fear? Why do I feel that? I've done a couple of these, right? Like I've put a couple of these in conjunction with each other. Now I go into the inquiry process, right? Now is when I begin to test the validity of my fear, right? Because now I have all this stuff. You go, okay, so what's my big fear, right? What's my big fear? My fear is that I'll never be a professional jiu-jitsu athlete. I used to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitively, and during the pandemic and a whole bunch of different stuff, and I got an injury. I put on a bunch of weight. I feel like I can't get back into it. The story, the fear, the belief is that I've completely blown my ability to ever compete in Brazilian jiu-jitsu again, right? So, and I encourage you to distill all your writing into beliefs, the beliefs that you are operating on, as though they were true, because when they're in your mind, before you can analyze them, you operate on them as though they're true. The minute they hit the page, you can see very clearly, go, oh, that's actually not true. That's like, I don't need to do that. And because it's on the page, you're now no longer holding on to it. Your brain has relinquished it, and it will let you have it. So, what is the story? And we're going to go with this examples. Is my fear is that I'll never be able to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu again. Like that part of my life is done, and it's a bummer because I really loved it, right? And so we ask the question: is that true? Right? And it's yes or no. Do I, is that true? And the truth is that right now it kind of feels true, right? So we don't get to intellectually bypass it. Intellectually, I know that's not true, but whatever. It feels true. If it feels true, and write all of this down. This is a writing process, not an intellectual process. This is a writing process, and when I send out the replay of this, I have a grid that I have clients do this on. I have an exercise that I have people do this on, and you can do this, and you can subject absolutely any limiting belief. You can subject any fear. You can subject any belief, anything, any narrative that you tell yourself, any story that you have going on. You can subject it to this inquiry process and find your truth, right? So I believe that I'll never be able to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu again. Is it true? I don't know, but it sure feels true, right? I'm big. I'm sluggish. I'm out of shape. Like it sure feels true, right? And so that's fine. Can I know for absolute certain that it's true? Like no, like I can't. I can't know for absolute certain. I can't know absolutely that I couldn't lose the weight. I couldn't get back on the mat, start stretching again, build up some muscle, and let that muscle memory come back to life. Right? I don't know for sure that it's true, but when I think about it, it feels true. But the truth is I can't know for sure that it's true. I don't know for sure that it's true. What happens when I believe that story? What happens when I believe that I will never do jujitsu again? I get bummed, right? I get bummed, and I don't want to do other forms of exercise because I don't like them as much. I like putting my hands on dudes and yanking them around, and like I like playing too rough with guys who like to play too rough. That's what I love, right? It was a part of my childhood, a part of my young adulthood, and it's something that's very important to me. what happens when I believe that story? I get sad. I get depressed. I don't want to engage in other things. I kind of feel like, what's the point, and then I kind of go to the chips and I go to the candy, because when I was competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was very, very conscious about my food. I was very conscious about my weight, about how I would eat, because I would compete in weight classes, and maintaining a particular weight was really important to me. So when I believe that story, I lose discipline. I sort of lose inspiration. Nothing really sounds good. And finally, who would I be without that narrative? How would I feel and how would I operate? If I didn't believe that I would never do jujitsu again, uh, I would probably start doing jujitsu again. I would probably get that weight down. I would probably start eating lean and mean again. I would probably start stretching. If I didn't believe that part of my life was over, I would operate as though that part of my life is not over. I would operate in the belief that I still had, I still had some good competing years. Yeah, sure, I'm in the senior division, but who cares? Like, you know, world champion of a senior division, still world champion, right? And that's the point. So if I if I didn't believe that narrative, who would I be without that narrative? I would be a guy who actually did that thing. I would be a guy who did the things that I wanted to do, right? I would be a guy who would compete, and I would train, and I would do those things. And so when we look at this inquiry process, we can literally take any story that my head spools out, and I can take it and I can subject it to any level of inquiry that I want. Um, are there any questions about this so far? Would anybody be willing to do one of these live? Would anybody be willing to test one of their beliefs live with me right now? All right, you don't have to. It's all good. The point is to do it. If you do, just go ahead and unmute yourself, or put your hand up, or whatever. If you would like to test one of your limiting beliefs, one of your fears, we can do it now. So that is the whole purpose of what we do. All of my work revolves around this work. And so I want to take a second and talk a little bit about the ways. So did this make sense for everybody? Was this useful? Did this give you guys something that you could do, something, tools you could immediately take and start addressing what you need to? This was this good? You want to try this, Jess? Are you
Sure.
are you want to do this live? Okay. I love this game. This is one of my absolute favorites in the whole wide world, right? Because we get to see that I don't get to believe everything that I think, right? That I not everything that I think is the truth, and I watch myself destroy myself when I do this. So what are one of the stories that you operate in, or the beliefs that you operate in?
I mean, I don't know if I should I start with my most intense issue, or I mean, like,
Sure.
what?
If
um
you're willing to talk about it, I'm willing to go in there with you.
okay. I, I would say probably the biggest problem I'm having right now, and just a little bit about, like, with being in Nikki's group, I lost my son.
Mm,
And so I have this fear that it's very intense, that, like, I'm going to lose another child.
mm,
And I mean, the world we live in, people die, like, that's the reality. Like, I get that, now, but I think there's this belief, before my son passed, I don't know, like, you just don't even think that that could happen to you. And then now all of a sudden it's like, oh, my worst fear came true. So then my second worst fear would be like, another child dying or something.
For sure, for sure, and yeah, bearing your own child is a parent's worst nightmare. I have an 18-year-old son. I know, like that is your worst fear. Like that anything would happen to one of your children. So the fear is if we were to distill it down into a sentence, is that because I lost one, uh, my chances of losing another are increased.
Yeah,
How would
maybe.
you
Yeah.
describe that?
Yeah, just a very intense fear that this could happen again.
Okay. So the so the so let's go back here. So let's do this. So the story is because it happened before, it could happen again,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Mhm.
And so let's take apart the fear just a little bit more. Uh aside from clearly the loss, tell me about that fear. Like why I mean, what is it about that fear? When you think about that fear, what do you think about?
Um, maybe just maybe just because like it's been so painful.
Mm.
Like the feeling of it felt like I wouldn't survive, you know?
Mm. So I feel that I wouldn't survive losing another one,
Yeah.
right? And so when we have those one of those fears that feels like death, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
The
definitely.
the fear is and so the fear is less about because you're clear that you have survived grief once before. Like you've gone through the grieving process.
I probably haven't gone all the way through it. I'm sure there's more
Well,
in there, and
it's
I've been working with Nikki a lot, but
right.
yeah,
Right. It's ongoing. I don't know if we ever complete a grieving process, to be honest. I don't know if that's ever I don't know if it's got a finish line that we should be aiming at, you know. Um,
yeah,
but the idea that a second loss would be catastrophic, it would mean your death.
yeah. That's I think really afraid of that because I thought I was gonna die from it, and
Mm.
I didn't. I'm
Turns out.
I'm working on thriving. So I guess it's just this fear of like, oh no, if this were to happen, I probably wouldn't survive.
Okay. So let's take a look at it. So the statement that we're going to go with is if I were to lose another child, I wouldn't survive it. Okay?
Okay,
Is that true?
I don't know.
Mm. Feels true though. Yeah.
If it feels very true. Yeah.
Okay. It feels true. And it's really important. It's always important to acknowledge, like, because sometimes you'll get a hard yes. It's like as soon as you say it, you'll get a hard yes or a hard no. No, it's actually not true. Like I'm clear that that's not true. But understanding that if something feels true and not bypassing the thought that it feels true, not bypassing that sensation. No, we don't get to bypass, right? We don't get to go, yeah, probably not. We get to acknowledge that it feels true, right?
Hmm.
Can you know for sure that if you lost another child, that would mean your death?
Yeah, I couldn't say that for certain.
Okay. Okay. So we don't know if it's true or not. It sure
Right.
feels true, right? It sure feels
Yeah.
true. But we can't with any certainty say that that's true or not, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Cool. All right. What happens when you believe it's true? How do you respond? How do you how do you act? What are the emotions, the images? How do you
It
operate?
ta- yeah, it definitely puts me in a I feel very stuck. Um I feel very afraid. Um it's kind of paralyzing.
Mm, yeah. Okay. So you feel stuck, you feel afraid, and you feel paralyzed,
Hmm.
right? So how do you treat yourself and others when you feel stuck and paralyzed?
Very depressed
Yeah.
and real withdrawn. Yeah, just like not, yeah, not, not very joyful or being present just in life that as it's happening now, not living the way I should.
Right. Not present, not connected.
Yeah.
Certainly not enjoying the time we have with them.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
Yeah.
one of the things about connections and about relationships, you know, and when I take clients through the relationship process, you know, in relationships with work, with family, with, you know, romantic partners, whatever, like all relationships end. Every single one of them. Every relationship ends. You know, my relationship with my wife will end. Your and my relationship will end. My relationship with my son will end. But you know, like my relationship with my mom will end. All relationships end. Every single one of them. And when we enter into relationships, understanding that all relationships end, all of them, regardless of which one, regardless of how precious, regardless of how important, if we enter into relationships with the belief that all relationships end, then we don't spend time worrying about whether they're going to end or how they're going to end. We know they're going to end. We spend our time in our relationships being present in our relationships. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I was on vacation a year or so ago and got a call from my brother. My father had suddenly passed. He wasn't yet 70. He was healthy. He was, you know, and he was sitting down in front of the TV and gone like and 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 transitioned. And the idea that, you know, that I wasn't ready for that. You know, like I wasn't ready for that relationship to end. Right? That's where we get into the grieving process, right? Is we're I wasn't ready for that. You know, I wasn't ready for that. You know, or I had never conceived of that. But I'd done this work. Like I had done my own work, and I understood that all relationships end. So the fact that he passed, while sad, was not like a catastrophic loss. Like it wasn't a catastrophic, you know, piece of information. Like, you know, how is it possible that my dad died? Well, you know, I mean, he was older. He, you know, had a heart attack. He, you know, whatever, something happened, right? And so that he passed was not absolutely inconceivable, but I didn't expect it, right? And so who would you be without that narrative? Who would you be without the fear that that because you lost one, that if you lost another child, it would mean that your death?
I mean, I feel like I could be a lot more present and actually like, enjoying the relationships or the time that whatever that is that I have.
Mm.
I've actually been thinking about it a lot lately where it's like, wow, all this time is passing. It's been 2 years since he died. And I'm not like, I don't feel like I'm as present as I could be, in my relationships with my kids.
With your living children, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so the, you know, one of them, you know, one of your children, you know, passed, and like that is a catastrophic tragedy. I don't want to take anything away from that. That is catastrophic tragedy, right? And your children now have to deal with both the loss of their sibling and the loss of their mother, who can't re-engage with them, who now can't, for whatever reason, right, spend that time with them, be present with them. because of her own fears.
Yeah.
And when you're in that place, you're in that sympathetic state, right? You're waiting for the boot to drop at any moment. I would imagine that you've run like horrific scenarios through your own head, how it would happen, how you would respond, how you would find out, all of it, right?
Yeah. And
And
I I think like part of the problem is like because I found my child, and so I do have PTSD from that that
mhm,
I'm working with a
and
counselor
that's
for with
real.
you. Yeah. And I've come a long way. I know I really have, but I feel like there's so much stuff that's still really stuck for me.
Mhm. And every time it shows up and you go into that hyper aroused state, I invite you, take 1 minute. Take 1 minute. Do some of the self-havening. Do
Yeah,
the
I
breath,
really like that.
right? Like
Mhm.
keep a like a voice journal, like a voice recorder, a voice to text, and like just talk into your phone. What is my fear? Like my fear is that I'm gonna find another one of my children. Uh, okay, so why do I fear that? Because I if it happened, I don't think I would survive it. Is that is that true? I don't know. It feels true. And so do you see how when we have these tools, we can chain them together very quickly and very easily, right? And
Mhm.
when we have these tools and we can do this, we can do it, and it doesn't need to be a big long process, but every time I feel that emotional charge coming up, I can go, no, I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that, right?
Mhm.
And I can, and what will happen is with practice, the minute you go into the breath, your body will tell your brain that it's safe. I'm safe, right? I'm not, and it'll drop out of the that sympathetic state, right? It'll drop out of the sympathetic state. You'll get access to your neocortex. You'll get access to your frontal lobe, and then you can begin asking these questions, and you can just and you can start to just ask them out loud really quick. Is this true? Does this how do I respond when I feel that way? I rob my children of their mom. I withdraw. I contract. Right. I dim my own shine. Right. And do I like it? I don't. I don't. I'm depriving them of depriving them of both me and their sibling.
Mhm.
Right. So
Yeah.
how would I be without that narrative? I would enjoy the time that I have. I would understand that all relationships end, and I would enjoy the time with them that I have. And then
Yeah.
you can go do that. You can make the conscious decision to go do that instead of the unconscious decision to remain stuck in fight or flight. Is that making sense?
Yes, very much so.
Cool. Cool. How does that feel?
I like that. I've done other it's like CBT type of things that Nikki's
Mm-hmm.
taught me, and I feel like this is a really great another tool to just keep building on, to help me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions about this, or would anybody else like to do one? Do one in real time? Either raise your hand or just unmute yourself. All right. So there are several ways that you can work with me. If this is something that you would like to do, if this is something, if you got value out of this and you think that maybe you would get some value out of spending some time with me, there are several ways you can work with me. I just have a self-study course, self-directed uh, course you can purchase online, and it's all the basics that I teach to everybody. It's all of the basic tools that I teach everybody. I have a ongoing group coaching program. It is a small, intimate container. It is 12 women. They are extraordinary, and it is just an ongoing program. And there is direct one-on-one coaching with me. I work on 3 pillars. I work on the pillars of clarity, confidence, and connection. Okay. And we talked today about first get calm, then get clear. So we first address our nervous system, and now we can start really getting into clarity. What I mean by clarity is everything you do feels aligned and energizing. Everything that I'm doing makes sense. I'm ending my patterns of self-sabotage. I'm not saying yes to things that don't serve me. And I'm no longer sitting there in self-doubt. I am very, very clear about who I am, what I'm doing, where I'm going, and how to get there. Confidence is knowing exactly where to put your time and your attention, right? Many of us feel like we're spinning our wheels. Many of us feel like we're just turning in circles. We're not getting anything done. I'm not getting any traction. And when you have confidence, when you know absolutely where to put your time and your attention, you always know your next best step. You never second guess yourself again, and you get the motivation you need right when you need it. Right? You're never like, I want to do this thing. I'm just not motivated. I just kind of, and the truth is the motivation is garbage, right? Like I'm not a big motivator. Uh, if there's something that you want to do, if there's something that would light you up, you're doing it, right? We are doing the things that are in alignment with our values that are available to us. The third is connection and how to really cultivate meaningful relationships that energize and amplify you, right? If, I work with a lot of singles and I work with a lot of couples, and, I say to almost all of them, like, if you don't feel like you're in an epic relationship, you're not, right? If you ever wonder if you're in an epic relationship, yeah, you're not, right? And so you can fearlessly navigate communication breakdowns, uh, how to set boundaries, how to fight properly between friends, at work, with lovers, with your children, whatever. Connection is all about engagement. It's all about communication. Learn how to set boundaries and hold them gracefully, confidently, and then call in the people that you want around us. Look, we're the average of the 5 people around us, right? You can't change your people, but you can change your people, if you know what I'm saying. Like, we can't change people, but we can change the people who we choose influence us. We can change the people who we share our energy with and who we allow into our energy. So I am going to put a uh, a link in the chat uh, for this to get a hold of me. I'm gonna put a link in the chat before we close to get a hold of me if you would like to have a conversation about any of these 3 programs, about either the course, which is basically, it's what I teach absolutely every client I have. I found myself teaching the same thing over and over and over again to every single client. I distilled it down into like, I think it's 7 modules, uh, and I kind of patterned it out to do it over about 12 weeks. It's self-study. You can do it as fast or as slow as you like, and you never lose access to it. So it's something that you always have access to. You always have access to the tools, to the recordings, to the Facebook group, to all of it, for that. And um, and that's just a self-study. If you would like to get into my small intimate group, let's have a conversation. Or if you think the one-on-one coaching is where you want to be, uh, I will drop a link for a free 1 hour session. Let's have those conversations, and you let me know what you need, and we'll see where would be a good fit for you. Does anybody have any questions for me from here? stop this. And grab this link. There we go. So in the chat there is a link to get a hold of me, schedule a session with me. If there is any way that I can serve you, I would love to. If you have questions about what we did, if you'd like to get some one-on-one experience with what the coaching is like, make an appointment with me. Let's have that conversation. Let's talk about how I can support you. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you. Um, um, thank you. Did uh, oh yes, yeah. Please message me. Um, please message me, Molly. I would love to talk to you. And for the people in this group, I have a very special, for someone who's interested in one-on-one coaching. I have a very special deal for you. So if you're interested in that, I am happy to share that with you when you call, when we talk. And I have a very special introductory rate only for the people who showed up on this call. So we will do that. So guys, thank you so much. I will send out a edited replay of this video, as well as the slide deck and any of the tools that I talked about. I will send you PDFs and everything in the email, as well as the link to schedule with me will be in it as well. Thank you guys so much. I'm honored by your presence. Thank you for showing up for yourselves. Thank you for showing up and doing this for yourselves. And if there's anything that I can answer for you, if you have any questions about anything we talked about, please feel free to reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. I totally got you, okay? You guys have a great night. Thanks for coming. Bye.